welcome to the BNL Eclipse Hour. My name is Aaron Harrell and I'm the media teacher here at the North Lawrence Career Center.
And I am Dr. Erin Miller, and I am the Secondary Curriculum Director for North Lawrence Community Schools. Today we have another great podcast for you about the upcoming total solar eclipse. We have, of course, Mr. Joachim Ladwig, which is our Earth Space Science teacher, NASA partner, and Eclipse ambassador. We are also happy to have Sheree Belt. Sheree is the interpretive naturalist at Spring Mill State Park. She has been with the park for almost 6 years. As the naturalist, Sheree oversees the Nature Center and its live animals, Twin Caves boat tours, Gus Grissom Memorial, and Cave River Valley hikes and cave tours. One of Sheree's favorite parts of her job is to plan guided hikes, programs, events, and workshops for schools and the public to help people discover amazing things about Spring Mill's natural resources and cultural history.
We also have today with us Sarah Bell. Sarah was born and raised right here in Bedford, Indiana, graduating from BNL in 2015. Sarah attended Indiana University and in 2019 graduated with a BS in Outdoor Recreation, Parks, and Human Ecology. After graduation, Sarah moved into the Assistant Property Manager position at Harmony State Park in New Harmony, Indiana. In 2021, Sarah came back to Spring Mill, her home park, as the Assistant Manager, where she currently resides as the Assistant Property Manager at Spring Mill. Sarah helps oversee all park operations. Above all, Sarah's aim is to create memorial experiences for park guests to ensure all who visit intend to come back. Welcome, Sheree and Sarah.
Well, hello, Sheree Belt and Sarah Murphy. It is a pleasure to have you here with us today, and it truly is.
We're excited to be here.
Yeah. We have a little bit of history working together. Now, Sarah, I've only ever seen your name in writing. I've never actually seen your name on you. Like, I've never seen you in person. I expected that you would be
Found my name tag, so yeah.
in your 40s.
Oh man, thanks.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, you're in charge of the park.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah, I'm glad.
Maybe in your 50s.
Yeah.
The
I have
boss.
lots of stuff under my belt.
Yeah.
Yep.
She does an excellent job.
Lots of fun though. Lots of learning. I'm definitely not an expert, but lots of learning and I have fun while doing it. So.
I mean, that's the secret.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that joy that we can share when we don't for sure know what we're doing, and people and the kids go, oh, they're not sure about everything. I think that's valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I'm 40 and 50, I definitely will have it all figured out. Is that
Oh,
what?
certainly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
That's why you can't be a representative of a state or a president until you're 35 years old, because by then you know everything. Yeah. So we've worked together and done the Gus Grissom
Yes.
July event, right? The weekend. Is it a week now, or is it just 1 week?
Just
one
a weekend, yes. Yeah. It revolves around Gus Grissom's Gemini flight.
The Gemini capsule is
Yes.
in the park because it has 2 seats, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And that was the secret of why. Well, that's why they called it Gemini, I think, because it had
2 seats, yeah.
2 seats, twinsies,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like elbowed together. It's crazy.
Right.
The space program, looking back, like,
I know.
no.
Yeah.
I know.
No.
It's like-
And they do say like a tin can in the sky, and
It
I
truly is.
cannot imagine. Yeah, really. Yeah.
Very brave individuals to take those
Yeah.
first flights.
Oh my gosh. And I grew up listening to the song Major Tom,
Yeah.
and it was always, whimsical.
Yeah.
And there's the positive, the whole launch thing, and then there's the whim, and then there's the that part,
Yeah.
and of course it goes bad, and then I go into Spring Mill Park and I see the capsule. It's like made of tinfoil
I know.
and old shoes.
I know.
I mean, it's like, dude.
And people
Right.
ask, they're like, that's not the real one, right? It's like, nope,
That's it.
that's it.
Yep.
That was up there. Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It was so sketchy, and yet we're sure it's going to be okay.
It was for a little bit.
Those guys were used to taking risks, though. They were test pilots, a lot of them, and Air Force guys. So, yeah.
There were some
Incredible.
Navy and Marines guys there
Yes,
too.
yeah, absolutely.
But you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
The movie The Right Stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
the book is this thick for a reason. I mean,
Yeah.
my gosh,
Yeah.
those were men of stone,
Yeah.
steel, probably because they're flexible.
That's true.
What a tremendous story. Just the whole to the moon
Right.
story.
right.
It's so fast and so such a national level commitment. Something we don't do much anymore.
Right.
That national level commitment. as we come nearer to the April 8th total eclipse, things are going to be happening in our community. Yeah? And we're already seeing it, the ramp up. Here, this edition of Indiana Travel has 20 pages of places to go, 20 places of places to go and be for the eclipse. I'm stunned. In January last year, I asked some people who I thought would be excited, and they said, I don't think much is going to happen. And I thought, But that exponential curve is on the way up right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Preparations, visitors, last-minute preparations, and quite possibly a huge number of last-minute visitors who are deciding now to get involved, right?
Yes.
Will flood our county from what I can hear. Yeah. As operators of Spring Mill State Park, what do you expect to see happening in the park as the time nears? Not necessarily on the Monday, but as the time. And what are you preparing for?
Yeah, so just operations side of things, way before, I guess, even, we know we're going to have a large number of people and we want to look our best. So that it revolves around, lots of man hours of cutting the grass, making sure we look good for all of our visitors. So that's a lot of prep, kind of that goes on behind the scenes. Then leading up to it, a lot of it is making sure we have been holding meetings a year ago. We first talked about it probably 2 years ago about what to expect. Making sure that we're all on the same page because we're going to start getting phone calls. We already get some phone calls, but definitely a week before we're going to get, that's all the phone calls we're going to get is where should I go? What's a good viewing area? What should I do? That sounds great, but then we also have to think about where we're going to put everybody. So 3 months ago, me and my property manager went around and just counted parking spots, to see how many can we actually fit in this park. And that being said, where are people going to want to go? So we might have a really big parking lot in our nature center. Well, it's not the best viewing spot. So it might be a great parking lot, but we don't want to put people there. So we're trying to put ourselves into our visitors' shoes. We know they want the best view out of everybody. And how can we make that happen by keeping people safe and making sure that they do view it? So, from there, we're just making sure all of our T's are crossed, I's are dotted. Us ourselves are going out at the time of day that it's happening and seeing where's a good spot for this. We could fit people and we have a really large field that we utilize for parking for our big events that we have in the fall. Well, we can't use that because that's going to be a good viewing spot. So it's really putting yourselves in the guest shoes to, how are they going to react when they get in this park is a big part of it.
Sure.
From there, staffing is also going to be interesting for us. It's the time of year where we don't have a lot of seasonal staffing here. So it's a smaller full-time crew that's going to be putting this on. So we're thinking volunteers. How do we get volunteers in that would want to be in the park and craziness during this time too? And then how we're going to make sure our staff are being kept safe, that are fed, that they can get home after the event. So it's all the little nitty-gritty details that you have to think about because you don't want to think about them the day of.
Right.
And I will assure you, there will be things that we think of the day of, but that's okay. We roll with the punches.
That's right. Absolutely.
But program-wise, Sheree, I know, has been thinking.
Yeah, my job's a little bit more fun, I think, when it comes to the planning of the eclipse. I don't have to worry so much about that aspect of it. Now we take that into consideration. Safety is always something at the top of our mind, no matter where we're at as staff. But on my end of things, being the interpretive naturalist, I'm just looking at how do I reach out to the community beforehand, months beforehand, whether it's social media posts or programming wise, a year ago, we were outside on April 8th looking at the best places for viewing, and all kinds of workshops I've been to. IU put on a workshop, a Train the Trainers workshop, and it was a great day to get out and really get some great information that we can share with the public as well. So we're using that information. And I'm excited about the programming that's about to start up for March. We're going to see some more interpretive programming just centered around what the eclipse is, the solar eclipse, and the different kinds of eclipses that occur, not just that one, and kind of showing people the difference between them. And we've got a full moon hike in March that's going to be talking more about the moon's part in this upcoming solar eclipse. We're going to be passing out a lot of solar eclipse viewers and glasses, and doing some safety training as well for all of our guests that come in. When they come in for any of these programs, whether it's a full moon hike or, you know, making a viewer box out of a cereal box, we plan on throwing in that aspect of safety.
For sure.
Yeah.
The safety thing sneaks up on us, right, with all things. At the last minute, we realize I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I'm committed to doing it now, so I'm going to do it anyway.
And that's where the park manager comes and says, no, you're not going to be doing that.
But it'll be fine this one time, won't it?
That's right.
No.
He keeps a close eye on us.
Right on. So there's a lot. How many parking places are there?
Oh, man. I think we came out to around 1,000 or so. Yeah, around 1,000, maybe like 905.
And the average car comes in with how many people?
I would say 4 to be, maybe 4 to 5. And we are expecting to see families, you know, and
for sure.
families want to park next to each other. So you have to take that into consideration. And
There's the camping aspect of things as well.
Yep. And making sure we have, accessible spots for designated is a big part. We think a lot about parking.
Well, and you have Winnebago parking, right?
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
camper parking.
Yeah,
and then you
exactly.
have tent primitive campsites. And then I presume that you have ADA compatible or is that the proper word?
Yeah, ADA.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, compliant.
Yeah, compliant.
But yeah, so you have access for people who need those supports.
Yeah, and so especially for these big events, we block off more parking spots just so we have more ADA spots available.
Right on.
And then so part of that too is looking forward. Even our campground will be full. That's a lot of sites.
Yes.
Like 240 sites.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so we have electric and full hookup now. We don't have primitive anymore, but we still, that's going to be a large audience to cater to too, making sure they have all their information, making sure they can get to their viewing areas safely. Lots of.
And it's going to be April, first week of April, which historically, according to the man that is historically stuck in my field in April, it's going to be potentially wet and kind of spring-like. But there'll be a lot of leaves, yeah. And so, what do we see on the nature front that we have to find a way to work within? Because all of a sudden, that winter tree place I was sitting is going to be bloomed out, I suppose, yeah.
A little bit, yeah. We'll have things budding out and blooming, and it's still early April, so on top of the chance of rain and drizzle, cloudy conditions. I think they're saying 60% chance is about that time of year. And so, but I don't want that to discourage people, because I think this event's going to be amazing whether we see the sun, and I do think seeing it will be incredible. So I don't want to take that away from it, but when it goes dark, even if it is cloudy outside, we're going to see changes in our natural world that are going to be incredible to be a part of.
So you say we're going to see changes. Obviously, you don't mean
Or
the sky.
here.
So nature,
Yes.
nature will. How does nature change?
Well, it's going to depend on the time of year an eclipse happens, a solar eclipse. So with April, we might not have quite as many of the flowers that would maybe be affected by the sunlight and the changes. But, typically you might see a flower bud that closes as the sun starts to go away. And, our crickets as we get closer to that totality, you're going to start to hear them, and they're going to get louder until it's just about dark. Our birds are going to stop singing and go roost. If you live on a farm and you have chickens, I think it would be pretty cool to watch those chickens have that whole circadian rhythm thing kick in, and they're just going to run for their coop because they think it's nighttime. They think it's time for bed. And so we're going to see that with a lot of things. Bees go to their hives. Deers start to forage. And so I don't know that we'll experience all of those things occurring, but I think we're going to, some things we will. The birds, I think we're going to hear that change in the sounds and the crickets.
Yeah, and it is some of those, things we might not see. The deer start to come out,
Right.
but we can kind of let people see that through interpretation.
Yes.
So they may not think about that, but Sheree will have programs that talk about it. So
Right.
You might not physically be able to see it,
Right.
but you will at the same time.
Absolutely.
Knowledge can open your eyes.
Yeah.
Wow.
It becomes you,
Crazy.
which is very true, right? The more you
Yes.
learn, the more you change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's going to be, according to what I just heard, 4 people, 1,000 spots. There's going to be a lot of people in the park. And then just for my own sake, can we sneak off into the woods and just camp in the woods? Or do you have to stay at a site?
Please stay at a site. You do have to stay at a site.
So
Yes.
you mentioned that primitive camping is no more.
No, so you can still put a tent on any site in our campground. We just don't have like a designated spot just for tent camping. So we have a few campsites that can only have a tent. There's one that's just small enough that is perfect for just a tent. But you can still put a tent on any of our sites. Yeah.
Should you want to not go the Winnebago route
Exactly.
from the Goofy movie? Do you remember the Goofy movie?
I do. I love that movie.
That is one of my top scenes in that film. The whole push the button and the whole camper just explodes into a
Yes.
city practically,
That was
right? The pool
fantastic.
inflates and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You're going to have to see it.
That's camping. Back to
some.
nature. Get that TV going, get the satellite dish. I'm not judging. I'm not judging because I like a TV too, and I kind of live in the country. So, yeah, I get it. It's important.
Yeah.
Not all of us are from the country, but we're going to go to the park because it's a great place to be.
Yeah.
And so it's springtime and they're slow moving, and the temptation to chase after an animal that can't get out of your way, like chasing down a tree sloth. We don't have those, but that just seems mean to me.
Well, we have a great resource is the Nature Center. So that kind of goes back to how we can educate the public coming into the park. We give everyone that comes through our park gets a map of the park, gets a list of events going on. That's going to be going on that day. In the Nature Center, we have turtles, snakes that you can see. Maybe not the day of the eclipse, or we might not get the turtles out to feel because we're going to be busy. But it's a great way to say, if you're maybe a little weary or you really, really, really want to touch a snake, well, we have a great spot for you to do that without being unsure out in the out in the woods.
And we do have interpretive events where we teach people about the different fauna. Specifically reptiles, because that's what we keep at our nature center. But as far as getting them out and letting people actually touch them and see that they're not as scary, I think the more you know something, the more you understand about it, the less fear you have, and also the more respect I think you're going to have.
Yeah, and it just, the day of the eclipse, like we mentioned before, we're going to have so many new people, and just being able to show them all that we have to offer after Monday is going to be really important to us, because that's our main goal is to we want people to visit the park, but to come back, so if there's generations upon generations coming as a family, well, we want their kids to bring their kids. That's how we survive.
Yeah.
Sure. The thinking about that, logistically speaking, have you already seen people that are reservations that are for the day before and days after? I I mean, are people doing that already?
Yeah, so we actually
Is there still availability at the time of this filming?
there might be a few spots left, but there's not a lot of availability left. At first we thought, you can book 6 months in advance. So we thought that first day we're going to fill up right away, and that wasn't the case. It took a little bit for those sites to fill up, but we're pretty well booked out now. But the state park system did they have it so you have to make the reservation until if you're gonna reserve Saturday, you also have to reserve Sunday night, Monday night, and that is to think of how do we get people out of the park. So if we have a bunch of campers that they saw the eclipse, now they're going, they're out of the park. That's a lot of traffic in the big campers. That's just going to add to
gridlock,
the congestion. So by making it so they have to stay an extra day, not only can we offer programs for that extra day to keep them around, we'll have events to, entertain people throughout that day. But it also is going to help us out majorly too, to keep people in the park. We talk about that a lot, is how do we keep people in the park after the eclipse, just to lessen the craziness outside the park.
right?
For the safety of all aboard.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
The greater good, as it were.
Yeah. So for us, it's not, okay, the eclipse is over, go home. We don't want that, because that's going to be
And
rough.
we want people to come to Spring Mill.
That would be a dangerous
Exactly.
time. I mean, not to be like,
Yes.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
but imagine.
Yeah, and speaking to another way we prepped for this was we talked to Kentucky, who was, in the zone of
2017.
totality. And talking to their law enforcement, our conservation officers have been talking to Kentucky's conservation officers. Everyone's working together here, and they said expect travel times to be increased by 3. So if it takes you 1 hour to get home, it's going to take you 3 hours to get home. That's what Kentucky experienced. So
Just people going to and from work.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So trying to lessen that through park activities is going to be helpful for everybody.
And once we get to, we have a cap, I'm assuming, for that day as far as population, what we'll allow in the park. But I want to encourage people, there are 54 DNR properties that are in the line of totality. So it's not just Spring Mill as far as DNR properties, and there's other places, city parks and beyond.
And we're prepping majorly, but we're not new to really big events. We have big events all year, so there is definitely a lot of preparation, but we also know when is the time that this is not safe anymore. So
That's the big thing right there.
exactly.
Right? This swath, because of physics, it's 60 miles either side of the center line. So it's 120 miles, give or take, pretty close. And it goes diagonally, kind of crosses Evansville, Terre Haute, goes right across to Columbus, and it heads up north to Henry County, right?
Yes.
And there are 54 state parks in that spot. And every one of them, and you guys have talked probably with many of those people, I would guess.
We have.
I mean, you coordinate the same kind of safety concerns and the logistics planning ahead. I mean, how many extra whatevers you have to have for that weekend?
Right.
I mean, it's maybe early in the season for ice cream, but it's never too early for ice cream.
Never.
So you've been working with all those things. So if people, I think Spring Mill's as a very popular park. I think a lot of people, I don't know.
Yeah, it is definitely one of the top parks in Indiana. Just the numbers we see each year. So we're seeing, for our fall events, our candlelight events, our haunted village events, we're seeing thousands in a night.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Thousands.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So we are used to large numbers, like she was saying.
Yes.
We are prepared.
Yeah. But like you had mentioned, it is a collaboration still.
Yeah.
So we're working with INDOT. That's a Indiana Department of Transportation, to use their big road signs to, show maybe when we're at capacity, or direct people where to go, just to help out along the way, because we are a small crew that's going to be dealing with a big crew.
Yeah, on that, I've got 100 more questions are coming in my brain. So there's not any more parking places in Spring Mill. Can I bicycle down the highway? Can I walk in? Can I hike in?
You could, yeah, you can. We have people just throughout the summer that do that. But it is also, that's going to be a safety concern too. So you could do that.
Just be a matter of
Just be
where
careful.
you're parking.
Yeah,
and,
just be aware. And
yeah.
we talk about too, once the eclipse is starting, people are going to stop where they are,
Cars will stop
they will
in
stop.
the middle of the road and put their
Exactly.
flashes on. Maybe.
Exactly. So that goes,
Yeah.
to say too, if you want to bike into the park, you can, but be aware. It's going to get dark.
Right.
okay.
Absolute safety concerns with that.
Yeah, just be aware. Again, be aware of your surroundings.
Yes.
But yeah, if we run out of parking spots, we will park our trucks in front of the entrance and have a big close sign. It's sometimes, we hate to turn anyone away, but sometimes
But that's for the best of.
you gotta do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's for
This
everyone.
elevator only holds 25 people.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
There's a reason for that.
Yes.
Will there be signs? You mentioned NDOT. How far are you down the road from the nearest town? From Mitchell, right?
Yeah. So Mitchell's our closest.
Will
kind
there
of
be a
hub.
sign there that says the park's at capacity? Don't come down here.
Probably not right in town of Mitchell, just because we are one of many. There's going to be places in Mitchell that are going to be seeing big numbers too.
Yeah.
My guess is we're lucky because we have a pretty big, a pretty long road to get to our front gate. So, we're on Highway 60. It'll be somewhere along Highway 60. So you'll know before you see that there's 2 trucks parked in front of the entrance that you
Yeah.
can't pull in. Because in parks, signs aren't always red. So that we can have a big,
Yes.
we can have 5 signs along the way that say the park is full and people will still come. So, at some point we also just have to close the road off and say, that's enough.
Safety will be an issue.
Yeah.
Yes.
And,
And luckily we have conservation officers. So we'll have conservation officers are on the park grounds to help us with whatever is thrown at us. Yeah.
So you mentioned, so conservation officers in this sense would be essentially security.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about medical issues? I'm not 15 anymore. And what if something happens there while I'm there, or my grandpa?
Yeah. So this.
a thing happens, or I fall and I hit my head at a rock,
Yep.
or I break my leg off.
Yeah. So this is we think about risk management all the time, just for all of our events. We have communication happening all the time. We use radios to speak to our front gate, to speak to our office. Again, conservation officers will be around. So if there is a medical emergency, we, EMS will be out. I'm sure, I can't speak for them, but I'm sure they are prepping just as much as we are. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And part
First
of that.
aid
We'll
kits
we'll
and
actually,
ADA.
I believe I don't want to say this for sure. I believe we're having EMS on site too for such this
Because
big event.
If the roads are full of can't get in here yet,
Yeah.
ambulances can't get in here yet either.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So, all of our COs are first aid certified, but I also will have volunteer fire departments will come out for our big events, so they'll be around too. So there'll be people looking out for you.
Absolutely.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a time when perhaps less support will be available than typical. I
Yeah.
would
So
think.
we'll
Whenever we go
keep 'em
anywhere
inside.
that's big,
Yeah.
right? Whether you're right here in Bedford,
Yeah.
right? The town will slow down,
Mm-hmm.
maybe not even be passable.
Yeah.
We just don't know. And it's a time to maybe just think an extra time before jumping off the roof into the pool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And our pool will be empty in April, so please
So don't jump.
don't do that.
Okay. Because it's still not the spring launch yet, right? When do you officially launch?
I feel like
It's hard to say. I feel
Yeah.
like we were always launching.
Yes.
but
It's like a constant ramping up.
It's
Yes.
a constant rampant. We have a
May. So the first weekend is May is considered welcome back weekend.
yeah.
But in April, we see a steady increase through
It's
the whole
really
month.
and it's really weather dependent.
Yeah.
Just park for everything we do. So as soon as it gets
Absolutely.
warm, we'll have the campers. So it
But
just
even in
depends.
February, we have a winter Civil War battle. So that'll bring in hundreds of people
Mm-hmm.
for that. So, we've always got something going on.
Yeah.
Winter, spring,
We don't
summer,
sleep
fall.
at Springville ever.
Not even in the Pioneer Village,
No, not even there.
the happiest place in the world.
It's pretty happy, but we don't sleep there either.
That's
The mill was just recently refitted, was it not? Was it? Am I making that up?
We're in the process of it. So it's still down. It's been down for a couple years now just because it takes time to make sure once we're up and running, we want to stay up and running.
Right.
So the center support shaft that makes the whole wheel turn faulted on us. Not for any other reason other than it's old. It was 75 years old and it was due to be replaced. So that's going to be coming up this summer. Actually, is we're having a millwright come in and help us along the way. We've already cut the tree for the center shaft. We're rebuilding the flume, the wheel.
Since
There's a
you're
lot
at it,
going
right?
on.
So you do the whole thing,
We got a lot going on in Springville.
Yeah.
and that's just the mill.
exactly.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's the life expectancy of those grinding stones and that whole apparatus? I don't know.
Yeah. So
I mean,
it's
in pioneer times.
yeah.
Right.
Did they
Well,
just
it's
wear out
kinda-
and throw it away and build a new building, or do they just?
It's actually kind of crazy. The mill itself was built in 6 months. It's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
We've been
In- When was that?
1816.
1816.
I know, and it's just it's a process now almost to get things going, and they had it up and going in 6 months. Crazy.
Yeah.
And it really just it depends on each part of the mill has different life expectancy. The shaft is at its life expectancy. We do a lot of
It's a big tree.
yeah.
I mean, if I remember, it was like
Yes.
giant.
Yes, and it has to be really straight too. So we worked with Yellowwood State Forest, and they located the tree for us. Again, we're all working together here, and
Yeah.
so we were there when we cut it, and it's always it's interesting when the tree was cut how much the canopy opened up.
Oh my goodness, right?
It's wild. It was just a crazy experience. So, but
But to be a part of that is pretty incredible
and that
too,
it's
to see
going
the
to
start to
continue
finish.
this history for us to be able to tell the history of it. It's really neat.
Right.
So yeah, we have that going on.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There's an upgrade in the nature center that's going to occur the end of April, all new displays. So the beginning of May, we should see that. And of course, our inn is under renovation too. So there's just all kinds of projects going on.
I love the inn.
That's great.
My wife and I, we're big time
Yeah.
Indiana State Park inn people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that you're going back to your roots. It's like
Yeah.
I can remember my parents talking about going there with their parents,
Ah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are like the fun stories to hear about.
It's
We'll
so
get
great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Because I
Started-
I remember being a kid and going to Springville and experiencing stuff. So
Right.
it's just fun to hear the stories.
And a side benefit, like you mentioned, I hope that some of you guys, viewers who've never been to a state park and stayed at the inn and gone to have old time cooking
Yeah.
or spent the night around that giant fireplace.
Yes. Yeah.
If you've never been, it's a tremendous thing to start with your family. It is, and your kids will take their kids, and
Yeah.
it's
I
just
agree.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just a phenomenal experience. You hear so many great stories around the fire.
So many memories
my
made.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our daughter was married at Spring Mill Inn. So yeah, I mean, that's just
Yeah.
always be a part of our heart too.
Yeah, and even we have a lot of amenities to highlight. So
Yes.
you can stay at the inn. You can also if you want to camp, you can camp. You might not have a camper, but you can have there's tents. You can get a tent and stay with us, and people put up hammocks sometimes and stay with us. So
You can be a camper.
yeah.
Absolutely.
You're
And the
not
best
born
kind
a
of camper.
Anyone can be a camper.
And there's every level of investment in,
Yeah,
in
and-
that experience.
Yeah, and saying that too, if we're all about everyone can camp, and if there's ever any sort of fears that come with that, we are open every day of the year except 2 days, and call the park, and we can get
Absolutely.
you in touch with someone that can help you along the way. We're, you know,
Get
we
you started.
Yeah, we're all about continuing our story. So
Yep.
if you're ever nervous, you don't know where to start, come to the park, and we can find
Want to
someone
help
to
you.
help you.
That's right.
Well, it's 200 years. No, lie to you. Yeah, it's 200 years,
Almost.
right?
Yeah,
200?
almost.
We're almost there.
My gosh. It's so cool.
27. Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about the whole thing. And yeah, we study a lot of old stuff in science, right? I mean, because that's how your history comes to you from the people that did it before you in some other less fancy way. And now we have new tools. But
Yeah.
when you rebuild that mill, you can't use the new ways to do it because it won't.
Well, it's really, I could go on about the
She's been in a lot of meetings for the mill.
I know. It is crazy. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So we're down to that last bit about Eclipse safety. And I don't know what you're telling people to do if you, as you're teaching,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Originally, I didn't think I would tell people to, I didn't know if we should tell people to look without viewers.
I know, right?
And that came up at the training I've been to, and, just hearing different ophthalmologists speak on it. And they're saying, once you hit that complete totality and we can see the corona, just this beautiful little ring of light, and the moon is completely covering that sun, you can take your viewers off. You can look directly at the corona.
Which won't be the ring like we saw in 2017, where you saw the ring of the actual sun burning your eyes.
So right.
Just this
Yes.
glowing
Absolutely.
crown around the outside, which is what corona means, as it turns out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just this outer, basically the light of the sun's atmosphere. It's going to be gorgeous if we can see it that day, but that's the only time. And there's going to be about just under 4 minutes. I think you guys are close to, you're like at 340. Yeah. And we're at 320, I think, for for our viewing of the total eclipse. But before and after, those glasses have to be on if you're going to look directly up at the sun, or you could do permanent damage. This is damage that there's no cure for. There's no treatment for it. So it can be just temporary damage if you're looking at the sun during a partial eclipse, but it could be permanent. And so it's not worth it. It's not worth looking up unless you have the right viewers, the right filters. We have a lot of ways that you can view without looking up at all. And so we have these viewer boxes that we're teaching people to make. You can grab a colander from your house and just put it out in an area where you could put a sheet down, or a flat surface where, as the sun goes through those little holes in the colander, you can view what's happening just on the ground. So keep your head down. But we have lots of ways we're going to train people.
Well, and we have Eclipse glasses at the park that you can buy beforehand.
Yes.
We'll have Eclipse glasses during the event. I would say too, because I thought I could do this, and then I learned you cannot do this. I kept my glasses from 2017. I was like, hey, I recycle. Cannot.
Good
There's like
point.
a lifespan on the
So the film, that optical or the UV blocking film, breaks down, degrades over time. So my stuff from 2017, the edge of totality, is maybe not safe.
Yes. Yeah. And also inspect the glasses that you buy to make sure that the film's not scratched on them. So we store ours carefully, so we're not scratching on a rough surface or something, because if any of that is rubbed off, it's going to be an issue. So just be aware.
Again, not worth it. Buy another pair, or see one of us and we'll get you a pair. But
And so don't take the dare.
Yeah.
I'll dare you to don't.
no, not worth it.
This is a one-time deal. You get two eyes, but you're going to need them for stereo vision for their whole life. Yeah. All right. Well, we have asked 1,000 questions that have opened up 10,000 more. And hopefully for the viewers as well, because that is the whole point. Engage with the environment, engage with society, engage with other people that know other things that you don't know. engage with you guys at the park, because that's why you're there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is pretty cool. So we are at the bottom of the list of questions that I could ever have guessed to ask. And now we've had so many other good ones. Is there something that we haven't touched on that we should?
The only thing, and you may be touching on this in another podcast, you talked about history and things like that. And I know during our training, just the folklore around the eclipse came up, and the different stories from the past and how people dealt with these occurrences when they didn't realize what was occurring in the sky and what was happening. And so the stories of, the monster that was eating the sun, or the bird's wings that covered the sun. And there's just all kinds of stories you can get into. So if someone's into history or folklore, I think it would be really fun to look up some of that.
Well, when our interview with Miss Hawkins, Lacey Hawkins, from our history teacher from school, she did a lot of digging
So cool.
Very
about
cool.
those kind of things. And there was a thought that I was just having in my head, and I think it's gone now.
That happens to me.
There's a rumor, there's a lore about how the eclipse sun is super more dangerous than a regular sun. And as a guy from science who's seen a lot of suns, it's the sun, it's the sun, it's the same exact sun. It's no different than any other sun, except that when it comes back out again, your eyes are all the way dilated, and that's not typical.
Yeah.
Right? Normally we have sunrise, and this is just sunrise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will just be upon us. Pro tip, don't look at the sun. This has been awesome. Our conversation has helped me to appreciate a better view, the natural side of eclipses and the things that are just going to happen in nature. Sheree, your perspective with great humor. I mean, sorry, with a light side, of the reality and of all the connections, and brought a very positive vibe to an experience that could be scary, right? It's a big, giant unknown.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Sarah, your event with your background with, I'm getting all scratchy here. Sarah, you've got all this experience now with large event planning, preparation, and understanding, and kind of seeing into the future. And that's an important thing to know. And I think that's been super valuable. And none of our guests will bring that here except for you. So I appreciate that a lot. And a lot of us have never thought of any of the things that you brought up today. And I really appreciate that. And that'll make a difference in our community, right? And maybe in Texas, where they watch this too.
And thank you for providing a platform to talk about this.
Absolutely.
Stuff.
Oh, it's absolutely a pleasure. This is the most fun.
No, thank you.
Fun coming across great people to share the journey.
Absolutely.
Well, there you go. Because it's all the journey from the stars back to the stars again, right? And that's pretty awesome. So I really totally appreciate having you guys here, and I can't thank you enough. So I'm just going to say thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Until next time, stay inspired.